So today I'm going to introduce to you the influences that affected C.S. Lewis and his writing. The first one being his life influences. Up here we see his beautiful mother. She taught him to love literature from an early age, especially the myths of Greek mythology. As you can see in his writing of Narnia and other things, he uses a lot of allegorical signs and symbols which are very prevalent in myths, especially Greek myths. Unfortunately, his mother died when he was still very young, and though that doesn't have anything to do with writing, it did really affect him and how he chose to write, and it also really affected his faith, which later on was one of the greatest factors in his writing. As he grew up, C.S. Lewis joined a group of writers called the Inklings, and they would meet here at the Eagle and Child, which they lovingly called it, I believe they called it the Bird and the Baby, something like that. A very cute name. So they got together and they would talk about their writings they were working on. They would critique one another. It's kind of like our class where we, talk to one another and bounce ideas off of each other. The most influential person in that group was Tolkien. He used to talk to C.S. Lewis a lot about his Lord of the Rings series as he was writing it, and C.S. Lewis would talk to Tolkien about the Narnia series as he was writing it. They're actually the first group of people that heard about the Narnia series and the ideas that C.S. Lewis was working on. Tolkien was definitely one of his also biggest critics about how much allegory that he used. He used to really bust him about how much symbolism there was in there. He said that it was kind of a cop-out and that he wasn't really making an original story because he was using just other stories and replacing them with other characters. But in the end, Tolkien definitely says that C.S. Lewis helped him come to the final product of the Lord of the Rings. Finally, I'm going to talk about C.S. Lewis's major literary influences. He has said that he has been influenced by more than 10 books that he's read in his entire life, but the number one person is George MacDonald. And George MacDonald wrote a book called Fantastes. And Fantastes is a modern fairy tale written for men and women. C.S. Lewis actually picked up this book just in passing. He had passed it up many times before because he thought it looked really boring, but he picked it up the final time to read it because he had to read something on the train. And when he finished reading it, he was really excited because he felt like it touched him in a certain way, that it really related to him. And he actually wrote the preface to the book eventually, and in that preface he says, what it actually did to me was to convert, even baptize my imagination. Their turn came far later with the help of many other books and men, but when the process was complete, by which of course I mean when it had really begun, I found that I was still with MacDonald and that he had accompanied me all the way. So really he knows that he was very much influenced by MacDonald, and I even looked at some of the Narnia series as well as Fantastes, and these are just two examples. I'm going to read the lines for you. It has kind of a snooty formality that I really like actually, but it's in a casual setting. So this one is MacDonald. I awoke one morning with the usual perplexity of mind which accompanies the return of consciousness. So that one's MacDonald, and then this is Lewis. It was the sort of house that you never seem to come to the end of, and it was full of unexpected places. So they kind of put their words together in a very clever way, and I can definitely see how MacDonald influenced Lewis. He also said, Lewis has also said that MacDonald taught him how to use allegory in an effective way, and how magic can be used in a Christian sense, but doesn't have to be seen as kind of a, an ode to the devil or whatever. Magic can be used in a positive way in a story rather than a negative way. So this is the biggest influence you can see. As I said before, he wrote the preface of it, and that really was his first. I was really happy to find it because it was his first. It's a first person he's talking about his influence, about MacDonald's influence on his life. And I actually started reading Fantastes a little bit, and I really enjoy it because it sounds a lot like C.S. Lewis. So, are there any questions? Yes.
I'm just curious, is the C.S. Lewis quote that you had when you were comparing it to McDonald, is that from Boys of the Dawn Treader?
It's actually the last one that what actually did to me was convert me, that one.
Oh.
Was that the one you're asking
The one about the houses.
The house, that one's actually from Narnia. That's when that's when they're playing hide and seek and they discover the wardrobe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was reading Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
Yeah.
It sounded like. I was just curious.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you.